want to make sure my face is on the re-edited version from now on, guys. That's my only stipulation.
Still gets me every time that end of the video. I love it.
Love it.
We're back. Boys, we are back. Another fully loaded transfer deadline day eve. Feels like we're here every day, and I think we are at the moment. But
we are here every day. We never leave.
Yeah, they all merge into one after a while, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
especially when we get near to the window. But look, welcome everyone. Fully loaded transfer show deadline day eve, and already so many in the chat. We'll give a few a shout out. Our mod and sponsor Russ is in the house. How you doing? Got another mod, Tom Dixon, Steve Coulson. How you doing? Great to have you in the chat. Ian Toon Trader. We've got Paul Spragg. Hope you're well, Paul. Gary, as always. Gary Milligan. Great to have you on as always. And Lisa, our resident mod, in the house straight the way. Thank you, Paul, for sharing everything. Loaded Mag NUFC and Jamie Brewerton. Great to have you on, and he's looking forward to the show, and so are we. Boys, how are you? You know, I tell you what, like Chris, I know you weren't on last night, but it just chopped and changed every second. Like it was it was all over the shop, and I think we're all a bit drained after that, as well as excited. But look, I'll come to you first because I really want to get your thoughts actually on all things John Joe Shelvey, because let's face it, that John Joe Shelvey is the one that kind of it's spun the Newcastle fan base like it has on its head completely done a 180. And Shelvey, we know, you know, I'll come back to the fee and all the rest of it because it's differing. Sky put something out earlier that we'll come back to, but look, he's had his medical. They're just waiting for the official confirmation. May even come out whilst we're on the show now. But look, when you heard the news with regards to Shelvey, what were your initial thoughts? Because obviously I asked Daz and Mark about it yesterday, but I want to get your thoughts on Shelvey. We delighted with it. We disappointed. The fans were split.
Do you know what? Yeah, I'll be honest. I was a little bit of both. Like I must admit, from a financial point of view, I thought if this rumor of anywhere between 8 and 10 million for John Joe Shelvey, who's got 6 months left on his deal, and we're getting an extra 80k off the wage bill. So me financial head, I was like, do you know what? It's sensible. It's a good deal. I think John Joe Shelvey is 30 years old, if I'm right in saying that, nearly 31.
31 in February.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so I thought it makes perfect sense. Now we've got and as fans and us lads on this show, we've got a list of players who we know need moving on. So the likes of Richie, the likes of Dummett, that you could go on. We all know who the players are. But I think we would have all said at the start of this window that Chris Wood and John Joe Shelvey weren't high on that list. They were kind of ones that we know 12 to 18 months, they probably would have, moved on. Now, the fact that we've moved Chris Wood on for what seems like an absolutely fantastic deal, we were all delighted with that. And it looks like Anthony Gordon is going to be the replacement for Chris Wood. But then the news to John Joe Shelvey, like, I know he's a bit like Marmite. Some people love him. Some people aren't so keen. But John Joe Shelvey, for me, he's been a fantastic servant. But not only that, he still does a job now. He's still, if you see John Joe Shelvey on the team sheet, well, I do. I don't know if everybody else at home's like this or you lads, but if I see John Joe Shelvey on the team sheet in the number 6 holding position, like that's fine by me. Like I think, good player, good solid player, reliable player. Has he got the legs? Probably not. But his passing range and he's got the footballing brain. For me, he could do a job for the next 12, 18 months, even 2 years. For me, I wouldn't necessarily want him out the door. However, I know, he's on that big salary. He's on, I think at one point he was the highest wage earner on the, on the books. And so for us to potentially move him on and get a fee is absolutely fantastic. But what's worrying me, and what's really, you put it well, Pete, when you said that it had the fans, and it is, what I can't understand is we were looking for a number 6 or a central midfielder before John Joe Shelvey even came into the equation, the fact of him leaving. So if we've let John Joe Shelvey leave, it's like we desperately need a central midfielder. Like, it's not even an option. And I saw a bit of the Eddie Howe interview earlier, and I don't know if everybody's seen the whole interview. I've only seen clips, and he was saying about I'm not ruling out a permanent signing, but kind of a loan deal. And I'm thinking, is that adequate? Is that enough? It almost felt, and I'm hesitant saying this because I don't want to kick everyone off, but it almost felt a bit like the Ashley days. I was a bit like, is that where we are? Like, we're getting
Andy Carroll.
yeah. I was just like, I couldn't get my head around it, because I'm thinking, John Joe Shelvey's a good, solid player for us, and he's an adequate starter, and then to get rid of him, and then I'm thinking, we were desperate for central midfielders as it is, and we're now getting rid of probably our most experienced central midfielder, and we're like, yeah, we might try and get a loan. We've got what, like, a day and a half to do it. Yeah, we'll be fine. And I'm thinking, is it just me, or am I overly panicking? I'm kind of all over the shop, and then they're like, oh yeah, we might go for Gallagher, we might go for Berge, and I'm thinking, there's got to be more to it. There's got to be. Is Eddie being a little bit coy, and are we trying to get a deal done now? I mean, I know that we don't want to be, just buying players for the sake of it. I totally get that, and we will have our list. But surely someone's going to have to, knock it up into fourth or fifth gear and go, come on, lads, we need to get our arse in gear here, because potentially we're trying to get a top 4 position. We've got a Carabao Cup semi-final tomorrow, albeit I know John Joe Shelvey wouldn't have been involved anyway. But it doesn't send out the right message to the fans or the team, in my opinion. If we, I'll be honest, I'm going to say it now. If we finish this window with just Anthony Gordon and Harrison Ashby, it for me, it's not been a good window. And John Joe Shelvey's gone. I don't think it's been a good window, I'll be honest.
It's very, very clear. And look, we had an inkling that that Chris was going to go into a mini rant, because we heard a little bit when we went live. But look,
Before you drop the laptop, yeah.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that. Oh my god!
I'm saying no more.
You missed out, Pete. You missed out.
Oh no, you didn't.
Okay,
You didn't miss out, Steve.
I think me and the other 300 in the chat missed out. But,
yes, the other 300 are lucky. Just that
Hey,
way.
That's open to interpretation, Daz. Okay.
Anyway, John Joe Shelvey, it's clear that Chris is not quite happy with the fact of John Joe Shelvey coming out, but it's more, I think, if I'm right in saying, Chris, the fact that Eddie Howe saying that he would be comfortable moving forward without a replacement. Now, do you think that's just him calming everything down, in terms of, we know what everyone thinks of Newcastle now, money bags, they can pay what they want. If they think that we're desperate,
yeah,
and they're going to charge an extra 10, 15 million. Could it potentially be that, or have you got a different opinion on what Chris has said? Because it is a good point.
No, I definitely think we need a replacement, because we're light in central midfield before Shelvey. This news of Shelvey going to Forest. So I think Eddie Howe, I watched the press conference as well. He has to calm everyone down, because there is it is possible that we do end up with no one with only about 27 hours left or something like that, and things can change, the goalposts can change as well on them. So I do think we need to bring in someone. We're light in midfield. We're one serious injury away from being in trouble, and relying on the likes of Elliot Anderson coming in to command the starting place each week. So I wouldn't go as far as Chris is going on the rant, but I still think something will happen, even if it is a loan. I think we'll get someone. Maybe I'll leave it there for now, and I might revert back to John yourself in a few minutes, but leave it at that for now.
Just to be clear, Pete. Sorry, just before you come in, just to be clear, I've seen a few people in the chat, and they say I may have got a bit overboard with the Ashley days. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's like the Ashley days, but it's something that Ashley would have done. Do you know what I mean? In terms of, we'll sell someone. We'll worry about that, or we'll be fine. you know what I mean? And the position we're in, we're in the top 3, and this is the time to really kick on. Now, I take the fact some people will turn around and say, "Oh, we've not had Andrew Shelvey, and we're technically in the same position." I've seen someone else write that, and it's absolutely right. I'm not disagreeing with that, but I think it's always been on the proviso that Shelvey will be ready for February onwards. We'll have John Joe Shelvey back in there. So the fact that we potentially won't have John Joe Shelvey back in there. I know Joe Linton can play in a couple of positions and Blake can play in a couple of positions, but if we're really serious about kicking on this season and we're really serious about really challenging for that top 4 position, if we're so light in midfield, it just worries me a little bit. I'll be honest. I trust in Eddie Howe, and if Eddie Howe makes that decision or the owners make that decision, I'm not gonna complain or moan about it. They know far better than what I do. I'm just looking at it from the outside in, because we were saying, weren't we, before this window opened, that we were looking and thinking, "Oh, we could do with another central midfielder," and now, for me, I think we're desperate for the central midfielder, because the one person we've been waiting to come back is gone.
And can I? I'm going to jump in, and I'm going to say, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this or not, but I'm going to say it anyway. Because I see people talking about the fee for Shelvey. Somebody like Neil there is talking about 14 million. What I heard, and I don't know how accurate it is, I heard it was a free transfer. Now, when I said that to you guys this morning, we said, okay, if it's a case, it's a free transfer, they definitely have something lined up there. But as the day has gone on, you would imagine that something would have broke. Nothing has broken that. So I know it does sound absolutely crazy if it's a free transfer.
I'll be honest, it would be crazy if it was a free transfer and we didn't sign anybody. That would be crazy. Look, just to calm things down, Chris, most importantly in this, I do think we'll sign a player. I do think we'll get a midfielder in. Partly because of the reason that you said, is that there was almost a need a couple of weeks ago of another centre midfielder. We were linked 3 weeks ago with Yuri Tillemans quite heavily, to the point where I think people were expecting us to put a bid in, and there was no talk of John Joe Shelvey leaving then. And we were saying at that point, we need him to come in. We need another central midfielder to come into the club. So if Shelvey does leave, I do think we need one in, because we know more than anybody, albeit under a poor ownership beforehand, that all it takes is a couple of injuries in a game in the same position and you're screwed. So this is why, this is why it's so important that we have the squad well stocked. Now, it would be a surprise to me, and I'm going to put this out there, it'd be a surprise to me that we keep hold of the likes of Richie, we keep hold of the likes of Lewis, and we keep hold of the likes of potentially Fraser, although there has been some tentative links today. I'd be shocked if we kept hold of those type of players who definitely could and need to leave, but yet because we want to beef up the squad and have numbers, but yet we don't strengthen in the central midfield area where we do need to strengthen, and we don't have the numbers. We don't have the numbers to play the way we want to play. If we're playing with a midfield 2, we've got the numbers, we're good, but we don't play like that. So we need numbers. So if we're playing with a midfield 3, we need at least 6 central midfielders readily and available to take one place each. That's a solid squad. So for me, I do think that with Shelvey going, and with his experience in his ball play, he's a good passer of the ball. We are going to lose something there, even if we brought him late in the game. I think we brought him on late in the game against Spurs for one of his first games back, and he just came on, got the ball, kept it ticking over really nicely. He used his experience to get us over the line, and we're going to need someone to come in to take on that mantle, or potentially knock on the door to the likes of Longstaff to say, I want your spot. And it kind of maybe brings us on to kind of the next point there, because let's move away from Shelvey. Shelvey's leaving the club. It's going to be announced in a matter of hours. So let's look beyond that. And what was really interesting to add to that was a talking point that Dom Skir put on, actually. And I dropped it to you lads earlier on today. And it says, Dom Skir says Newcastle have lost or will lose Wood, Shelvey and Darlow. Darlow's on his way to Hull after the semi-final tomorrow. Dubravka's coming into the squad, so that's fine. Anthony Gordon and Harrison Ashby don't take up a place due to their age, so it could potentially leave 2 places clear in the squad. So why would you clear out the decks with the likes of Wood, Shelvey, and Darlow? Yes, we're replacing Darlow with Dubravka, but why leave 2 spaces in the squad and not fill them? Who's likely to be filling that space? Are we going to throw in another goalkeeper in Gillespie? I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Because I thought that was a really interesting point from Tom Skirring. I don't know what people in the chat think. Get your questions in. But look, boys, I'll let you crack on with this one. Daz, just initially, just reading that what are your thoughts about that? Does that convince you more potentially there's someone coming in, or are you like just general thoughts?
Yeah. With that news that I mentioned there this morning that we spoke about, and in our chat, and Dom's comment there, I was expecting something more to drop today, but yeah, we are where we are. Where unless something is done and it's just going to be announced, and you use the transfer deadline day to kind of boost everyone again, and it's someone that has gone under the radar, but that's pretty impressive now. If they've done something like that, I guess we're not going to be able to judge it properly until the window closes, and hopefully by then we're just so high that we're going to Wembley by that stage. It'll go over our heads for a while, but yeah, it is interesting.
Chris, what are your thoughts on that? Obviously off the back of what you've already said about the Shelvey situation, does that interest you a little bit more? The fact that we could potentially have 2 spaces free in the 25-man squad, with potentially no takers to fill it.
Yeah, no, it is. It is really interesting, and I suppose that's what's given me a little bit of hope. I mean, I feel like I'm on an emotional roller coaster for the last 12 hours since the Shelvey news broke, and I'm thinking, nah, we will sign someone. And then I'm going, yeah, but what if we don't sign someone? And I suppose I'm having a bit of a wobble. So the fact that we've
calm
seen
down,
that.
calm down.
Yeah, no,
Sorry,
it's just so panicky. If you remember, I think it was this time last year. I think after transfer deadline day, I was ill for about a week because my emotions were just everywhere. And I think it's heightened this year as well because we're in such a fantastic position. But yeah, the fact that we're potentially only going to have a 23-man squad due to Gordon and Ashby being under the limitation would kind of. It makes me feel a bit better, Pete, is what I'm saying. I mean, maybe Mark Gillespie will take one of those places, who knows? But if not, I mean, is there somebody mentioned it in the chat. Again, people might think I've just completely lost the plot. But, is there a potential for maybe bringing the likes of Jeff Hendrick back from his loan spell?
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know.
No, I don't know. I get what people are saying. There's loads of people in the chat that are saying, "Oh, clearing deadwood, we're getting rid of wages."
Yeah,
great.
Which is right.
Exactly that.
Yeah,
that's what we want to do. 110%. We want to clear the wages. We want to move things out, of course. But at the same time, we want options. We want options available. You don't have a 25-man squad if you're not going to fill it, and there's no point having players that can. Not necessarily need to be registered and not then have players to fill it. It doesn't quite make sense to me. And that's why, in my mind, I'm convinced that I still believe that we could, that we are going to sign somebody, that we're going to sign in at central midfielder. Mikey Toon, for example, who's just dropped me in a tweet that Fabrizio Romano has done. I think he's done a YouTube clip that basically says that we're still in for Mateus Franca. I read it out. We're still insisting on Mateus Franca, deal before deadline day. They're asking for about 25 million euros, which is close to our last bid submitted, apparently. And
20.
I think we got it. It was around 20. I literally broke last night straight after we came off air from the previous show. So that was the tweet from last night, and they want around that. So there's a chance that we could maybe meet in the middle. But again, Mateus Franca's 18, 19 years old. He won't qualify for a place in the squad either. So it's one of them where we're still not filling the squad. But again, we are bringing the talent in. There was a question on there that was on there a second
Yeah,
ago.
here it is.
I'll bring it back up. It's a really good one from Tomb Revival. Pete, the whole point of the transfer window is to improve us, but Gordon and Ashby are future talents. They don't improve the first team, yet we need wholesale changes, not one. Not one was a wow factor, and I get that, and I think, you know, with the money and our capabilities, I think people are looking for those marquee signings. Look, you know, the one player I want more than anyone is a marquee signing in James Maddison. Tillemans would be considered a marquee signing for me, because if his contract wasn't out in the summer, he would be valued at 40 million. Him easily. Leicester would not be selling him for anything less than 40 million, because that's what they paid for him. So any of those type of players would be marquee signings. But I do understand the reason why they're getting Gordon in, and I've got to be honest, and it might sound really disrespectful to him, and I apologise if it does come across in the wrong way, but I'm sick and tired of Jacob Murphy coming off the bench.
Oh, Pete, I've been saying this for months.
Yeah, I know you have.
It's killing me.
But like I'm genuinely sick and tired of seeing Jacob Murphy, because you can see it on social media. We react in the same way. We get a weekly message on the group chat from Daz when Murphy comes on. It's like we're either wrapping up the win or playing for a point, or that's it, kind of get job done, because you don't feel any confidence in him coming on the pitch. For me, if you've got Anthony Gordon coming on, either on the left or the right, you've still got a chance of doing something in the game, because he offers more in the final third. He offers more. He's a young player. Yes, he's 21. Yes, he hasn't got stacks and stacks of goals, but he is a developing player that we've put our faith in. And I do believe that, although he's not a marquee signing, he improves the squad, that he could turn out to be the difference in games like this season, where we bring someone like a Murphy on, try to be as respectful as possible. But when you bring him on, it's kind of like, are we really going to do anything now? Whereas if you bring Anthony Gordon on, we've still got a chance of nicking a goal. We've still got a chance of doing something in the final third. He's still going to make a difference. And that, for me, might not be the marquee signing to come into the first 11 and kind of, you know, upheave the initial players that are in the squad. But actually, he could make a difference in a different way. And I see this time next year, I would not be surprised if Anthony Gordon's playing regularly in our team, and everybody's opinion of Anthony Gordon is very, very different. It would not surprise me, because once Eddie Howe gets a hold of him, you know that he's going to improve as a player. No doubt about it. I don't look at Anthony Gordon's form this season and take any judgment on it. Why? Because he's at a shite team with a shite manager, and then he's not going to improve. When was the last player that Lampard ever improved and made better? Let alone an English 21-year-old that's got raw potential. Eddie Howe's
Lampard probably got lucky, didn't he, at Derby with Mason Mount, because Mason Mount come in, fantastic player. And I think Lampard lived off the back of that, because everyone was going, oh, he's gone to Derby and Frank Lampard's made him just like him. And then he went back to Chelsea and kicked on. And I think Lampard has lived a little bit off that.
Of course he has. Those two players, Harry Wilson and Mason Mount, both went on loan to Derby, both tore it apart. Very, very good players at that club at that particular time. And that was his career made off the back of that. He does not make players better. It's simple. Give Gordon a chance. It might not be that top marquee player, but I tell you what, he'll be better. He'll be a better option off the bench than Jacob Murphy. Harrison Ashby, he's there to learn and develop. The one thing I'll say, and I'm going to ask Lawless this on Thursday when he comes on to away days, is because a lot of West Ham fans are adamant that if he hadn't made it clear in the summer that he wasn't signing a new deal and wanted out, he'd have been in the first team this season, and he'd have been playing games for West Ham this season. Now, that says to me that he's a player more so than what we recognise he's a player. I haven't seen too much of him. I'll hold my hands up. But from what I've heard that he is a potential first team ready player. Now, all it takes is for him to learn for a couple of years. He'll play football in Europe. He learns, builds and develops under the guidance of Trippier. he could be good to go. And what better than having someone like Harrison Ashby come in instead of a Mankilio or a Kraft, where we don't quite trust those players. Let's be honest, Kraft got better, but we still don't 100% trust him. Put our trust behind a young player that could potentially be the future. I don't know. I tweeted out last night, there was a West Ham extra put on a clip of Harrison Ashby scoring a free kick, very similar to Kieran Trippier. And I tweeted out and put the old Spider-Man where they're putting each other like they're exactly the same. And, I tweeted that out last night, and I just thought, they've clearly got the makings of being very similar players, which is why Newcastle really clear that they wanted him. And I just think, yes, not first team ready player, but could he develop playing in the odd European game next season? Could he develop playing in the Carabao Cup or coming in if Trippier gets injured? We've been lucky he hasn't been injured this season, but he could well be at any point, and we need someone coming in. I've talked loads about that. I apologise. Daz, Chris, come in if you disagree, got another alternative opinion. Come and share your thoughts, mate.
I have a question for all of us, but I just want to answer Andrew Richardson's question here. No, you don't need a 25-man squad. It's preferable to have a 25-man squad, but it can be met up with people that don't have to be registered in that 25-man selection. But so no, you don't need 25. But the question I want to put to you guys is, okay, 27 hours left in the transfer window. Apart from Ashby, who's the medical done, and they're probably doing the media work or whatever at the moment to get announced, and a potential loan midfielder coming in, do you see some? Do you think that there'll be a surprise?
You want my answer?
Yes. Yes, Chris.
There's got to be. There's got to be. I'm open, and do you know what? You're right in what you were saying before, and a few people in the chat have said it as well. Like, in fairness, he's not going to come out, is he, and go, "Yeah, we're desperate for a centre mid. Like, we're going to have to buy a centre mid," And so I do understand that, and I do get it. Maybe I'm just getting panicked for no reason, but yeah, I think we've got to. I think we've got to. I think the thought of not bringing in a central midfielder is just, it gives me shudders, if I'm honest.
Chris, I get it. The fact that you might be panicked about it, because you know what? We've had 14 years of being panicked.
That's it. It's built into me. It's built into me.
And you know what? It's going to take years for us fans to get that mentality.
Therapy.
Is that
I need therapy.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say that.
I did.
But, I did. But look. For me, it's going to take us a while to get that.
Mark agrees. Mark agrees as well.
Get in, but no, it's going to be a really interesting one. For me, it depends on what you mean by surprise. If you mean a surprise in which we sign a centre midfielder, then I think there'll be a surprise. If you mean a surprise by someone that we've not been currently linked to or heavily linked to at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised on that either.
You wouldn't be surprised with the surprise.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't, because we only go off what we're being told in the media. We actually don't know their current list of players. And let's be honest, Bruno Guimaraes was a shock. Botman was a shock. Pope was a shock. Nobody knew Pope was coming in. Isak was a shock. Nobody expected him to be signed when he did. Let's be honest, when we were linked with Anthony Gordon in the summer, that was a shock to a lot of fans. Nobody expected that either. All of these players have been a shock. And they're now household because we've talked about them so much. But none of these players would have been players that would have stuck our kind of like heads out on it or a neck out on and gone, yeah, they're going to sign that player. They're all going to be a surprise. There's another one. I'll throw it out right now because there's another one that's been a bit of a surprise. And it's, if anyone knows, Sporting centre midfielder, Manuel Ugarte. We talked about him tentatively last night, but there's been a few links today, and Ollie from the NUFC blog had wrote a piece in relation to Franz Fletcher, saying that Ugarte could potentially be a player, and he's on Newcastle's radar. Who's to say that doesn't materialise into something? very, very talented player that can play in number 6, Uruguayan international. Top player. A lot of big teams are looking at him. If we were to do that and steal a march on him, that would be like getting someone like Bruno Gomes again, because he's a talented boy. So who's to say that isn't someone that we get left field, get that signed, get that sealed and delivered? I don't know. That could be a surprise in there. I'll go to one. I'll go to one player that we have been talking about quite a bit, that came out last night, and it's this man, Sander Berge. Now, this came out, but not left field. We have been linked with him before, but it's interesting, his situation. He didn't play yesterday in the FA Cup game against Wrexham. He was linked with Fulham for around 20 million, but interestingly, Fulham have just signed a centre midfielder today from Torino. So it looks like they've already done their business, which potentially gives us a free shot at him. Brighton have been tentatively linked with him. If Caicedo goes, not likely to happen. But Sander Berge, to the point where people have already put him in the Newcastle United shirt. He's already there. Not quite. But
they do that with everyone, though.
Yeah.
Like I have about 10 pictures of
Madison.
No, not Madison. I have a book, but yeah, fucking Paqueta. Loads there, you know. So there's loads. They do that to everyone. But what was I going to say? Yeah, move on.
No, look, it was. We weren't sure whether it was going to be, as people were saying last night. Oh no, he's going Fulham. He's going Fulham. Came out this morning, Keith Downey. We had joined the race for Sander Berge, as Craig Hope had mentioned during last night. We're looking for a loan with an obligation to buy the midfielder, and there's even talks that potentially that we'd pay more than the 20 million that Fulham were offering in order to secure the deal on a loan with a view to buy. And what was interesting is in the last 30 minutes, Luke Edwards, as always, the voice of negativity in some sections of the fan base, says, and he talks about Conor Gallagher here, but he said, seems unlikely as things stand with regards to Sander Berge. It's not happening. Just very clear cut with that as well. But look, we don't know.
Yeah, just on that, Pete. That's what's kind of leading into the thoughts today as well. Like, is Berge like a backup option, and there's something happening in the background that we none of us know about, no one's talking about, and it's that surprise that you're talking about. So like, if what Luke Edwards is saying there, we're kind of being ruled out of those. Are we pushing as hard as we should be to get someone over the line there? So it is all kind of leading up to there's a potential surprise there, but who knows?
Yeah, this is the thing. We don't know the list. We don't know the list that they're working from. We don't know how high up or how low down some of these players are on the list, and this is the interesting part of it. Oh, like, it's a very strange situation. And look, with the Sander Berge thing, I think that's going to roll into the last day. I think, they need money. I didn't realize they're in a transfer embargo. They have to pay their way out of it. Sheffield United, they need money. So this is why the 20 million sounded like a reasonable fee. The one interesting thing about it is that a lot of Sheffield United fans, off the back of our link, were saying, well, why would they accept a loan? Why would we accept a loan for Sander Berge? And some of them are saying that the payment to get out of the embargo isn't a massive one, and it could be that a loan fee that we give them could be enough to pay them out of the embargo, and then they would take the rest of the money in the summer. So that was a lot of what Sheffield United fans were saying is why they might well accept a loan. And that one could still potentially happen. I mean, just because one person doesn't say it will happen or it will or won't happen doesn't mean that it is the case.
Yeah, because they are willing to sell there. It just getting the right deal, because they need to. Yeah. That's why they took the decision themselves not to play him in the FA Cup match. It was taken out of the manager's hands. He wanted to play him. I think the player probably wanted to play as well, but it was taken out of his hands. Yeah.
He's actually quite settled at Sheffield United, but he wants to play at the highest level. He was playing European football before he came to Sheffield United in the first place. So he's one of them that would want to definitely play in the Premier League. And he for me, I've said it before. Some people on social media have said, "Oh, nah, don't like the signing, don't like Berge coming in. Not a player that I thought he's a downgrade on Shelvey." Trust me, I've watched him play. He's not a downgrade on Shelvey. Sorry, you know, he was even when he first signed for Sheffield United, he was already better than John Joe Shelvey. He is a top player. Plays very different style, but so there's one person in the chat tonight that said he's not a defensive midfielder. He is a defensive midfielder. That's where he played before he went to Sheffield United. But Chris, your opinions on Sander Berge, because I've not had a chance to ask you your opinion on Sander Berge. What
are you laughing at?
I like a Lockview's opinion on Sander Berge. So a Lockview said he'd rather us go for his younger brother Batten.
Oh my god!
Oh, I've lost it now. I've just lost it now. Oh, I love that. That's great. That's great. No, I mean Sander Berge. I think I've probably watched him a handful of times. I know there was a lot of furore when Sheffield United managed to sign him because you know, he was rated very highly, wasn't he? And he's been relegated with Sheffield United, and he stayed there. And I mean, when you look at all his statistics, you know, the fact that he's like 6'5", central defensive midfielder, as you say, Pete, a lot of potential. And if we could, you know, we've talked about utilising the loan market now for a while, haven't we? And we've yet to do so. And it's probably difficult to do it in the Premier League because not many people want to give us a hand or, you know, like try and help us out. But it would be interesting if we brought in someone like Sander Berge to see, you know, whether he could cut it in the Premier League. I think he could. As I say, I don't watch Sander Berge week in, week out, I'll be honest. But from the time that I saw him in the Premier League and the fact that people speak very, very highly of him, and when you, like I say, when you look at his statistics and you look at, you know, the player himself, you think, well, surely he'd be worth a loan deal to see, you know, what he could bring. It could even be, I mean, again, I'm not even sure on Sheffield United's position in the Championship at the moment, but it could even be that, you know, it might be worth trying to bring him in on loan, maybe with an option. Maybe Sheffield United, like you were saying, Pete, could probably do with the money to get rid of, you know, the embargo. And then, you know, we say thank you very much for lending him for the season. Here you go, have him back. It could work out for both clubs, couldn't it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's why I don't think that a deal is just can be dismissed like that, unless you know for sure. You know, let's face it, that tweet from Luke Edwards that he's put out in the last half an hour tonight, he's put Sander Berge not happening. Like, he's given no facts, he's given no guarantee, he's not heard it from anybody. That's just an opinion. It's just an opinion, like my opinion, like your opinion, Daz, like your opinion, Chris. Just give him an opinion. He doesn't believe it's happening. That's fine. You can have that opinion. But that doesn't mean that we should then think, oh, it's not happening. The deal's done. Like, it's over. It's not going to work. Because we could hear in the next hour that a deal's been agreed. And there is a loan with the view to buy. And it turns on its head. How many times has that happened? You know, so
I agree with his last line, though.
Well, that brings me on to my next point, because there was a report today. Newcastle very keen on Chelsea midfielder with John Joe Shelvey poised to join Nottingham Forest. And when I read this article, I thought of you guys. I thought,
I wonder why.
It was Jason Sitar from Football 360 65 that wrote that. But
that's actually Graham Bailey's alias.
Yeah, kind of like a Bailey article, I have to say. Interesting signing Ruben Loftus-Cheek on loan, according to reports. Now, look, you know, we might as well throw the conversation in here with this man, Conor Gallagher, along with the Ruben Loftus-Cheek, because we've all seen tonight Chelsea. Jesus Christ, Chelsea, 115 million British record fee for Enzo Fernandez, very good, talented Argentinian international from Benfica. If I'm right in thinking, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, a 10-year contract with a view to separating or parting ways after 5. That's worse than the Mudryk deal. And I don't know how they get away with that, but that's a separate conversation. But the point I'm making is that they're agreeing that deal to get a top level young midfielder to come in. They clearly need to balance the books somewhere in terms of getting wages out the club or players off the books, because they must have about 8 central midfielders in the club at the moment. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Conor Gallagher, both being linked with Newcastle heavily. That's what we're saying.
Conor Gallagher, all day, I'd take him. I don't think he's going to turn up with us, though. I think when people are saying in the chat, people are saying it all day, he's too much of a London boy. People are saying that he'd go back, if he's going anywhere, he'd go to Palace. And of course, but when D was on away days, he was saying that they had a bit of a falling out when Chelsea went back to play Crystal Palace. He used to get on really well with the player, but now again, that's on the pitch. It's in the heat of battle. So don't read too much into that either. I would see him going back to Palace, especially if again, then there's a report today that Everton bidding 40 million plus 5 million, like basically the Gordon money on Conor Gallagher. Yeah, it's just silly season.
It's funny you bringing that up, actually, Daz, because I was winding my blue mate up. Obviously, we've been speaking a lot the last couple of days with Gordon and stuff, and he's very skeptical of news articles and stuff, because obviously, he's been a Blue his whole life, and he reckons that Everton have never had any interest in Conor Gallagher, and the reason that Everton have bid for Conor Gallagher is for Chelsea to try and drum up like a transfer tug of war. He said there's no way we're going to spend 40 million on Conor Gallagher, and then literally 50 minutes later it was like Conor Gallagher was not interested in the move to Everton.
Yeah, who's going to fall for that?
It was great.
You can't help but laugh, can you? Is that like they're pointing the finger at 45 million, yeah. blah 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 blah, and then they go and try and waste it on one player. To then get that player to go, nah, don't fancy you. Don't fancy coming to you guys. Literally in the space of an hour. Why put that out there in the media that you're trying to get a player like that without doing your homework to check that the player is actually interested first?
That's why he doesn't think it was true. He said, I don't think Everton will have done it, but apparently Everton do that a lot. Probably what Ashley used to do with us. Like we get linked with someone and it's like, oh, we might be in for him, and then it just never happens. He said it happens all the time with Everton. They do it a lot. It's so that the fans get all excited, and then it's like, oh, we just missed out. We couldn't get him over the line. Yeah,
madness. But look, it looks like there is a potential there, and it just seems to me that one of those Chelsea boys could well be the easy option for Newcastle. It's clear that Eddie Howe's a fan of Conor Gallagher. Graham Bailey said last night he seems to think that Ruben Loftus-Cheek is all jokes aside, he seems to be convinced that Ruben Loftus-Cheek is a Newcastle type of player. He could play in our team. I'm not so sure. That definitely isn't.
Yeah, sure. And that article was probably written from watching our show last night from the guy in 365. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, it's a name that it's an easy one to throw in out there. There's never been any concrete kind of link with us to Ruben Loftus-Cheek, except back in the Ashby days when I would have said yes, go get him, because he was younger. He was. You think he would be hungry at that stage? Not when he's 27, 28, and he's happy to sit on the cash in Chelsea, and hasn't done much in the last while. So, sorry, I'm on a rant.
As a little bit, in fact, just before I say that, there's been over 400 in the chat tonight. Click those thumbs up, those likes, hit that subscribe button, come and join the Lodi family. Well on the way to 6K. Thank you for that, Russ. Top man, top sponsor. Chris, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Obviously, we know Daz's thoughts. What are your thoughts on Ruben Loftus-Cheek? Would you take him?
Right now, I'd take him. No, all jokes aside. No, I mean, Yeah, I'm probably a little bit on the fence over Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I wouldn't say I'm all the way over on Daz's side of the fence, but I wouldn't say I'm on Graham Bailey's either. You know, I'm kind of in the middle somewhere. I mean, he's athletic. He gets about the pitch. His wages are a concern. Someone in the chat, I think it was Mark Pearson, said, you know, he's on big wages. That is a concern. The way I look at it is, someone like him on loan wouldn't be a problem. Like, I think bring someone in on loan, and I can see it. I wouldn't say it's like lazy journalism. That's probably a bit harsh, but I can see why people are linking us to Chelsea players, because Chelsea just keep signing all these players, and they're like, you know, you're going to have to lower your wage bill. You're going to have to get bodies out, because otherwise they're just going to have people in the squad who aren't going to be getting a game, and they're going to be playing, you know, anywhere between 50 and 150 grand a week for doing absolutely nothing. So in a way, you know, I can see why Chelsea people are linking us with Chelsea players. We need players. They need to get rid of players. But I would have no problem with us bringing Ruben Loftus-Cheek in on loan whatsoever. If you're asking me, would I pay 40-45 million for Ruben Loftus-Cheek? Probably not. I think that's you know, that's not for me. But I'd definitely look at a loan deal. Definitely.
I wouldn't even pay 20 million for Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, maximum 15 million for me. I won't pay any more than that.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't, honestly, just because at Chelsea will try and demand 20-30 million for him, because Chelsea are very, very good at getting value for their players that they get rid of. They are, to be fair, Chelsea are the benchmark for how they get value for some of the players that they get rid of. It's crazy the amount of money that they recoup, which is probably why they're partly getting away with what they're doing, because the amount of money they recoup for the players they sell. But for me, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, he hasn't done anything in his career that justifies paying north of 20 million. I'm sorry, like, he had a half decent spell at Palace when he should have come to Newcastle, and Daz is absolutely right. He had his opportunity under Rafa to come to Newcastle, right? We were the better team at that point in time, playing maybe not the better football, but we were in the trajectory of going in one direction, which was up. And he decided to stay in London. I don't forget things like that. It's the same with like Tammy Abrahams when he decided to stay closer to London and go to Swansea instead of Newcastle. Stuff like that doesn't sit well with me, because I'm just thinking, hold on, like, you're looking at just being comfortable rather than actually looking at proper career progression. And there's a reason why, all due respect, that Tammy Abrahams is not playing at a higher level than Roma right now, because I think his ability deserves it. I think he's a fantastic player, but his attitude's not quite right. And I think he's lost a lot of time in his career, but that's another point. Ruben Loftus-Cheek's exactly the same. He's quite happy to sit on the bench at Chelsea and be the Chelsea player without kicking a ball, whereas he could have gone and made a career for himself and said, you know what, I want to play football. I want to go play and kick ball for another team and prove my worth.
But it's not the problem that Chelsea have, though, Pete, because Chelsea, I mean, Man United have been kind of, you know, the same in a way. If you're offering 150 grand a week contracts, look at what happened with Dele Alli at Tottenham. You can tell he's just reached that point, and then he's gone, yeah, I could go and play for Fulham, or I could go and play for Palace or Wolves or someone ever, but I'm only going to be getting 60 grand a week. I could stay here and get 150 grand a week. It does beg the question, doesn't it? And this is the issue. This is the problem with modern day football. Now, look at Callum Hudson-Odoi. Exactly the same problem.
Yeah.
They can't get rid of him because he's on 150, and they give him that to stop him from going to Bayern. And then they realise actually he's not that great.
Yeah.
But everyone else is like, we're not giving him 150.
People got too hyped about his name.
Yeah.
Just like
that I agree with. Yeah.
They got too hyped about his name. They got too hyped about the fact that they were English, and that added to, we have to keep him. And that's what's ruined him, effectively. I do think he'd have turned out to be a decent player if he'd gone to Bayern. I do think Ruben Loftus-Cheek would have been a better player for his own career had he come to Newcastle under Rafa Benitez. But now, for that reason alone, if you're asking me, would I take Ruben Loftus-Cheek or have nobody, then yes, I'd bring him in maybe as a body, but I wouldn't be putting an obligation to that deal. I'd be saying, come in and do a role if required for Newcastle until the end of the season. But in the summer, see you later. I'd be doing a Jacob Murphy. and do one of them on the way out, I'd say see you later, because he's not a long-term investment for Newcastle United. You know what? We're better than him. We are better than him, right?
Yeah, we are.
100%.
I'd rather see us go for someone like the lad we were linked to before the Argentinian lad, Alan Valera. But like that all went quiet as well. Like all these South American players were linked with, nothing has materialized yet, at least. Franca is the one that seems to be the most likely, but it all went very quiet because there was a long list of them there for a long time. Maybe they'll resurface again in the summer, but
who's to say it's not being worked on now? We just don't know.
No, we don't.
We just don't know. I can't remember. It might be you, Chris, that mentioned it to me a couple of days ago, and you said, you know, we are. You might have even said it today. Actually, we're a closed shop now. We don't hear about anything.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really good point that you made. We are a closed shop. We don't hear about deals until they're either very close to completion or they're done. Like, you don't hear about them. It's kind of like that's the way it's working right now. But look, it's a really, really interesting one.
One sec, just to play that out. Let's say we were to have a breakthrough in one of the South American players that we've talked about. You'd imagine then that they do the medical in South America and get the details across to us. That way to facilitate the transfer. Because hopping on a plane sometime tomorrow is not going to really work out in that sense. So that's how it would play out. Okay.
Yeah, you look at the Bruno deal. He did his medical in Brazil because I think he was over there at the time. International duty, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, it was. He was going on international duty. Yeah.
So Steve Nixon went over there, did the medical, got everything signed, sealed, and delivered. And then it was announced he then came over afterwards to obviously do his pictures and all the rest of it after that. No reason why we can't do the same. And the one thing I'll say is that, and I know you don't like, you might not like this, Chris, is that like with a loan deal, it can be done very quickly.
Yeah,
they don't have to do the permanent thing where you get them up to Tyneside and you do the medical and you do all that stuff. It can be agreed literally over the phone. A medical can be done wherever they are at that club. Even sometimes their own club do the medical and send the details over to the club, or they'll have one representative go down there if it's London or wherever. Gets done, signed off, paperwork done. It's announced. They might go down there with a shirt and have an initial, picture. And then they do the proper stuff when they get time to actually move up. So this is why, a loan with an obligation to buy going back to Sander Berge might well be an option. It might well be an option for a number of players, because the one thing we haven't talked about, we talked about a couple of European players, but actually Craig Hope mentioned last night, Europe. We're looking at Europe, not just domestically, to look at getting a replacement in. So it could happen elsewhere. So look, I say at this point we have a look at some questions. People are firing questions all over the shop, and let's kind of answer some questions on some points.
Yeah, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Simon, who was a bit under the weather in the last while. Simon, hope you're on the road to recovery now. Great to see you back in the chat as well, Simon. Just want to say that first. Let me see. Because we covered a lot of the stuff as we were going through, just rambling.
I'll tell you what I'll do. Just as you're looking for a question, I'll just pop this update up from Craig Hope in the last half an hour or so. On Conor Gallagher, message from Newcastle earlier in the month was that Chelsea unlikely to do business with them, given the direct rival, and that they went and that went for any player. Gallagher wants to stay at Chelsea, but Fernandes' arrival could throw a lot of cards in the air. Let's see where they land. So not ruling out the Gallagher deal with that situation. Look, he's come up at Chelsea.
Just to add in, Life Goals has put something in the chat here, and it's a great shout, and he's completely gone off the radar. Newcastle with Douglas Luiz.
Is that real?
He was someone of interest, wasn't he? A while back.
I mentioned him to Pete. I mentioned him to you, Pete, ages ago. You don't have none of it.
Nah.
Like Arsenal were looking for him in the summer.
I'm not buying anyone from Villa.
Yeah, I'd rather Douglas Luiz now than Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
Oh yeah. I think most people would.
Yeah.
But look, yeah, not for me. Not for me. Don't need to be buying off Villa.
He's better than Villa, though. He's better than Villa.
They're looking for a Gudusi, aren't they, as well?
Yeah, go buy him. He's better.
Yeah.
He is.
And he can play number 6. Go get him. Go get him.
Who knows? You know, if Villa strike up a deal tomorrow, you know how it plays out in transfer deadline day. You can swoop in and take them off their hands.
Oh, that would be the that would be the cherry on top if we hijacked a Villa deal for Guendouzi.
Oh, hang on. Did Louis Douglas sign a new contract to Villa after the last deadline?
Did he?
Yeah, but they're still talking of him leaving, though. They're still talking of him leaving.
If he's got a clause, but it won't be that 14.5 million that Life Goals are suggesting. If that's the case, it'll be about 40-50 million, won't it?
Well,
then they might need to balance the books if they're bringing in Guendouzi.
Yeah, possibly.
Or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Guendouzi.
Yeah, Matteo Guendouzi.
I'm just flicking through now. I've not seen anything about Douglas Luiz to Newcastle, so I don't know. Life Goals, where you saw that, please let us know. I'm not sure anything Douglas Luiz.
Just a question from Kamal. Do you guys think letting Wood and Shelvey is meant to free up wages for a bigger signing tomorrow? That's what we kind of touched on it. That's the whole...
We're open that, Kamal. That's what we're open.
Yeah, I think even potentially, if anything's to go by, that Wood was on 100 grand a week, you're saving 180 grand a week there. That potentially you could put on a permanent signing, or you could cover somebody's loan, a loan fee, cover somebody's wage for 6 months, with a view to them signing them permanently on a better structured wage deal. So yeah, there's possibility in that. Come on.
We haven't mentioned him really yet, and there's just probably under 27 hours to go. Matters, and I've got the poster ready, Pete, as you know, if it was to happen tomorrow. But the question from here was Gallagher or Madison. What's everyone's preference? And Madison, yes or no?
Not even a question.
Yeah.
In terms of it being this month, look, as much as I'd love it, I don't see it. I just don't.
I'm not even sold on a number 6, by the way. Just a central midfielder. Number 8 will do me just fine.
There is a pattern with who we've brought in. Is we all seem to go back for the players we bid for. There was Botman, there was Gordon. Who else? There was a few more.
Was it? Yeah, there was someone else we went back for, wasn't there?
Matt Target.
Matt Target, Matt Target,
we had him.
Dan Bain, the first bid was rejected. Back in.
So who knows?
Let's face it. Just really quickly on Madison before we move on. With James Madison, there is no way that come the summer that they can bid they can ask for anything around 60 million. No. I think they would be lucky to get 40 million for him, and I think that could be. We went in at around 45. I think if we went in around that again in the summer, I think it gets done. And you know what? It continues to be said he is the priority signing, and it wouldn't surprise me that come mid to end of June, that he's a Newcastle player. Wouldn't surprise me. He'll be the first deal we want done out of all of them. He'll be the first one that we want to wrap up.
Cool. And just David Cook is on playing duty. So if you see any plans, David, let us know. Keep us in the loop.
Just mine. It's a one way to Newcastle. I'm working on it. It might take me a few years, but I'm working on it. One way to Newcastle.
I love this off Daniel Much. I love this. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Yeah. That'd be a lovely signing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think he was playing. He's playing either yesterday or today. He was playing. Yeah.
No, he was. Was he out with the squad yesterday? Mikel Merino?
Yeah, I think he was. I don't know if it was yesterday or today, but he wasn't in the squad for the game, which is why everyone's talking about it.
Oh, is that it? His name was mentioned anyway. That was it for the questions that I have gone to so far. Just want to let everyone know what's happening tomorrow. Really, is we are doing Loaded Match Day Live. So yeah, people asked us before to bring back a Match Day Live. So we decided to go for the big one, the semi-final second leg of the Carabao Cup. So we're doing a Loaded Match Day Live, going back to our roots, how we started this YouTube gig in the first place, and also tying it in with Deadline Day. So we haven't officially agreed the time yet. It's currently down for us to start at 7, but we'll see how it plays out tomorrow. But that is at the moment that's our next show, and so Loaded Match Day Live with a Deadline Day twist. So that should be very interesting. So we're going to come suited, booted, full kit, suit, and a scarf. Make sure you bring your scarf tomorrow, for as we try and make our way into the final. So that's coming up tomorrow. At the moment at 7. Keep an eye out on YouTube. Also, then on Thursday, 7:30, away days. Pete, tell us about this, and I'll sing the song.
Oh my God! Yep, we've got the main man, West Ham Fan TV's own.
He was lawless by name, lawless by nature, double right from the start. Some say he's crazy, more say he's evil, and everyone says that he's mad.
Clip it. But yeah, I don't know how he's going to react to that one. But Lourdes is on to preview the West Ham game. He's not confident. We are. Look, it has to be a win for Newcastle. I don't think I could live. I don't think I could live through a week or so with him just reminding us that they beat us at St. James's Park. So we have to win that game. But we'll be discussing it. We'll be talking about it all on Thursday, 7:30. Get involved in the chat. Get your questions in for Dan. I'm sure he'll have some very controversial views on all things Newcastle. He's always dropping me little notes in the chat. He's already got his claws out with regards to Harrison Ashby. So I'm sure we'll get into that as well. So yeah, come and join us. Come and join the chat. Get your opinions in. It should be an absolute cracker.
Right, we said we're going to go for an hour unless we had some breaking news. We've done that. We're going to give a shout out to the sponsor. So there's 5 more minutes for breaking news. So Pete, check that phone. But well, yeah, shout out to our sponsors. Shout out to the RadiatorShed.com, and Russ is in the chat as you put Chris in jail. There he is. Oh, smoking in jail. Adria. Go check out the latest colors in the radiators that are available from the RadiatorShed.com. And if you want to know more about it, go to the website. But there's a little pause up there, and you can read it back all about the RadiatorShed.com. And also, if you need to get your radiators installed, no better man, Russ and the install works as well will sort you out. So yeah, check out that. Check out the latest radiators and sort you out. Or if you know someone that is renovating or building a new home, send them Russ's direction. Also, this is where you stopped me yesterday, Pete. H2O Bathroom Design Co. Martin there. So yeah, this is the Northeast's largest supplier of Vilcroy and Batch bathroomware. Team Valley Gateshead, over 20 years established, ran by the family. Get down to the showroom on 11th Avenue, Team Valley Estate, Gateshead. So yeah, check that out. And yeah, here's some of the fabulous bathrooms available from H2O. That's it from the sponsors. Guessing there was no breaking news.
No.
Can I ask you all a quick question before we go?
Go for it.
Yes or no? Do you think a transfer will be broken whilst we are live doing Matchday Live?
No. For us.
Yeah.
No, I think it'd be during the day if it's, or we'll know about it, and it'll just, the icing on the cake will be when we're on the show.
Pete?
I think we might hear noises, but I think there could be a chance that a deal is agreed and signed whilst we're on the show.
So when the match is on, a breaking news will come out.
The crowd will be going mental.
Just to add, just very quickly, not necessarily breaking news, but just from the Chelsea side of things, they've reported from Mark Douglas that Chelsea duo Conor Gallagher and Ruben Loftus-Cheek are options that Newcastle are looking at within the next hours of the window. They seem to be the ones that we're looking
Conor
at.
Gallagher.
That's come from Chelsea. They are the two players that we're looking at from Chelsea to get in before the window shuts. So that's just a little bit of an update from there. Nothing else concrete from anybody. But look, we'll keep our eyes peeled, and I think we'll all be watching it very, very closely tonight and tomorrow to see if something great.
If Graham Bailey's coming on tomorrow and we have signed Ruben Loftus-Cheek, I have to find an ASM costume. Someone help me. All right.
He's coming for you. If
I know
he's right, he's coming for you big time. You know he is.
I know he is. Oh, God. That should be fun. Anyway, that is it. We'll leave it there. We're back tomorrow. At the moment at 7 o'clock. We'll keep posted for any changes on that. You'll see it popping up. How'd you like that?
How you like